Hello and welcome to I Smoke New York. I'm Ben Gilbert. To my right, we've got Dr. Dankenstein.
How y'all doing?
To his right, we've got the Kolektor.
What's going on, everybody?
And then all the way at the end, last but not least, we've got Sensei Cultivation.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
I like that.
Good.
Good.
That was new. I'm Brandon now.
It's new, isn't
Hey.
it?
Wow. I didn't even realize you were so on brand this morning. It's incredible. So it's our 10th episode. I don't know if you're aware of that. We're 10 episodes deep, which means we've been doing this for 10 months.
It's like
We started
almost
this.
like a celebration.
That's crazy.
It also means we're almost at the 2024 New York Growers Cup. I'm going to try not to think about that
shit.
because there's so many things to do
Oh,
still.
I'm hyped. I'm not gonna lie. I'm hyped for the cup this year.
I know, me too.
Oh man.
That should be ridiculous. Lots more to say on that front. But given that we're 10 episodes in, rather than starting with a smoke report, jumping into all that stuff, we're going to do a little, I guess housekeeping is maybe how I'd call it. Like, let's talk about you
Tying
folks.
up loose
Let's all talk
ends.
about ourselves a little bit for a minute. Let's
Hey,
indulge.
we're getting personal here.
But
Let's
more to the
go.
point, I'd love to, tell listeners, viewers, however you get this podcast, a little bit more about yourselves. So I'm going to start with you.
Should I
Person
start out
directed
like
to my
NA
right.
style?
What's that?
Should I start out like NA style?
Hey, nice.
My name's Dankenstein. I smoke pronto. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an admit. You have to admit that guilt right up front, though. I understand. No, tell me
can I
where you're
blame-
from.
So upstate New York, born and raised.
There's a lot of upstate.
Small town. To me, it's kind of like all upstate, but Albany. Actually, like one of the first episodes we did, we talked about that. Because like Albany is kind of the city to me. Like there's other cities in upstate. So like shout out Rochester, Syracuse, Buffalo. Like those are all like my areas that I was in. But I grew up in like a real small town, like hillbilly kind of town, real poor. No cop station and shit. So that was like a benefit. To a family with like I have 9 brothers and sisters, including myself. So we had like a big family.
a lot
Shout
of
out all
family.
them. Yeah.
God bless.
They're all doing good too, you know what I mean? Out of there too, it was like a cool thing for the town. Like it's a very low income spot where people don't really get out of, like in these kind of like rural areas in upstate. There's a lot of poverty
Yeah,
still.
shout out to you and your bros for that too, because you guys are doing work and putting yourself
And
out.
little bros doing like, shout out my brother Noah Waterman, like he's playing, he just got a contract with fucking Louisville, so he's like playing D1 basketball.
Yeah, that's
he's
amazing.
a beast. Like we grew up in the town, there was a little basketball court. Like I grew up remembering smoking weed when I was a little kid, pulling up, my buddy pulled up his Honda Civic, Sean, blasting music, and we play basketball every day in the summer and smoke weed, and like people
That's
do
like
the
a
thing.
big part of you, right? Basketball.
That's all, yeah, and the community that was built around that with weed. Like weed was always there. People were drinking too, but it was like, at that point in time, weed was still illegal. And that was the good part that represented like all the bad things. Like people that drank, I see them as a kid and I was like, yo, they're fighting and hurting each other a lot and shit. And like people that smoked were like, yo, let's go over. Like, you know what I mean? So like I saw that when I was young, I think, and it really gravitated towards weed. But everything was low. We were like real poor. Family got divorced or whatever. Like dad went his ways, had a bunch of kids. And so I started hustling, like doing my thing, selling weed, smoked weed young. And just saw everybody else and started like building off of that, which eventually landed me up in prison from like selling a whole bunch of different stuff. Like that's, I don't want to take up all the time, like,
Sure.
And then got out, started advocating, like kind of found some good male role models in prison that really set me straight. And I was able to come back out with like a mindset. Like I never had a lot of good male role models like that. So it made me dial in what I wanted to do. Like the OGs like helped me and, calm me down and level me in. Started the Legacy Growers organization with like Brandy Hasner, shout out her and everybody else in upstate that's helped shit. And now we're fucking here today, like with a license, and other people got licensed that like we're part of this shit. And like, I'm proud as fuck of that. Like, at the end of the day.
Man, too, that licensing process is fucking annoying.
Bro, yeah, and you guys know, like that shit sucks.
Yeah, we're still waiting. But
New York Gangsters in store soon.
New York Gangsters, yeah, for real. Like, hey.
Do you remember the first time you smoked weed?
Oh, kind of. I smoked a lot. Like, I started smoking cigarettes when I was so young that I can't remember how old I was. But I remember it was with Apple. Shout out Brandon. I wish he's locked up for life right now.
Jesus.
For like, there's somebody who had a murder in the town. But the first ever time, like, he pulled up on his bike, bro. I was at my house, and like, I was the little white kid, and he pulled up with the Apple. He's like, you trying to smoke, bro? And like, we smoking the shit, and like, I got mad. Like not only did I think I was doing something kind of wrong, but I was like also stoned. And I was like, and then he was like, I'm out of here. And I was like, yo, oh shit.
I just left.
Yeah, hell yeah.
That's the best.
Yo, he was one of the
That's
kids
funny
from
as
the
hell.
town, man.
You was what, 13?
Probably.
I was 13. Yeah,
Hey.
that's about the age I feel like for a
Fuck
lot of
yeah.
people. It's not good, to be clear, but
I was smoking cigarettes.
neither of
like,
us should have been smoking weed at 13.
No.
I was also smoking cigarettes.
Like,
Not good.
Yeah,
Nine
I was
or 10,
14,
bro, yeah.
14 for me.
14.
14?
Yeah.
Age when you first smoked weed?
Yeah, about the same, like 8th grade, freshman year of high school.
Bunch of delinquents.
Yeah, it's like
Delinquent.
14. For
Unbelievable.
That's our generation too, though, I feel like.
I think that's a
it's
big part of it. Yeah.
Coming out of crack era and all that shit, like it was
And just
especially in the neighborhoods we grew up into, like
Right.
they
So
weren't.
you're from the Bronx, right?
I'm from the Bronx.
Yeah.
Hey,
Some-
shut up, wrong.
Born
Yeah.
and raised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
uptown over here.
Uptown, baby.
Hey.
I mean, it's the Bronx. Everybody from New York has their own like vision of the Bronx. Like the Bronx is dirty, but
I think of
the
the
Bronx
Warriors.
is actually dope. You know, like it's a lot
There's a
of
lot of different parts of it. Yeah.
stereotypes to the Bronx. But I think the Bronx has the most parks, if I'm not mistaken, out of all the boroughs. It also has one of the biggest parks in the state, if I'm not mistaken, or at least in New York City, Pelham Bay Park.
Columbia Park.
Yeah, Pelham Bay
Is
Park,
Van
baby.
Cortlandt Park also in?
Van Cortlandt Park is also
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's in the Bronx, like right before the Heights, like right after the Heights.
Next to
it's like on the
Riverdale up
border,
there and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up going to Orchard Beach. That was real popular over there by Pelham Bay Park.
Wait, what's Orchard Beach?
Orchard Beach is the local.
You never
beach in
heard of
the
Orchard
Bronx.
Beach, bro?
I'm trying to.
I heard about it because you told me once. That shit
Yeah.
sounds
I
crazy.
have. Yes. Yes,
They
I have.
should-
I want to go.
I heard of
It's
Orchard
not,
Beach,
it's
bro.
not the best.
What is it?
It's a beach in the Bronx. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna say get in the
Like
water
a pool, you mean?
and have fun.
I heard there's
It's
a lot of pretty-
man-made,
Like a
if I'm
big
not
pool?
mistaken.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I think it's a man-made beach.
it's not like
if
a
I'm not
real
mistaken.
lake
yeah.
in the Bronx,
No,
is
it's
it?
a real beach.
Yeah.
No shit.
It's the Long
Sand.
Island Sound, right?
City
No, Long
Island.
Island
City
Sound.
I think it's
Island's not
the-
too
Bro,
far.
I
It's the
want to go
beginning
there.
of the Long Island Sound, basically. Or, you know what I mean?
City Island's right there.
Yeah.
It's an actual beach. I think it's a man-made beach.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's dope.
That's
City
dope.
Island.
I gotta
It's,
go.
Car shows in the
It's the
summer.
Bronx
like all that
Riviera.
stuff, yeah.
is
Yes,
what it
there
is.
it is.
It's
There
the
we go.
Bronx Riviera.
And all the local
City
Bronx people
Island.
go there, right? Like, cause
Yeah, I mean, growing up,
It's summer in the Bronx.
I went there. We used to play handball. My parents were from the hood. Like that was our oasis. That was the beach. Like we wasn't going to Jones Beach. We wasn't going to any Rockaway Beach and all
right,
like that.
people
Like,
having fun there.
we was going to Orchard Beach and we was just having
Yeah,
fun.
exactly.
You know what I mean? But when I was young, you had to be careful, like crack vials and like heroin needles, and you have to be careful all types of shit. Now it's pretty clean. I don't know if it was.
See,
Yeah.
that's
Barbecue
funny.
with your family.
That's a
Yeah.
big difference, I think, from being me in the rural area. We weren't educated with that crack stuff. Like we were very like you
Yeah.
didn't see needles and stuff around, but it was kind of during the same time period.
No,
Like
it was
it
same-
probably made
about
y'all
the same
think.
time, right after the crack era, but like we grew up in playgrounds in the Bronx where it was like still all that shit in the playground.
Yeah.
Like the needles and the vials and the coke bags and all that shit. Yeah. Like we were just coming out of it. So when I was coming up, it was like you could only go to certain parks because some parks were dirtier than others. You know what I'm saying? Like gentrification eventually spread into like the smaller, like ghetto, real bad neighborhoods.
Look at it now.
Bronx.
Look, the South Bronx is like, there's like
It's called
residential
Sobro
towers,
now.
like condos there and stuff now.
called
It's
what?
wild.
It's called Sobro.
So, bro,
Sobro. South Bronx,
they
baby.
really got it.
Hey.
That's not a better. That's not a good rebranding. That's really.
That's what they call it.
It's-
that
yeah,
sounds
it's
Is that
yuppie as
gentrified.
hell.
is it a pejorative?
It's
Like
yuppie,
sobro, like
it's
this yo.
yuppie as fuck.
That's
It's a
gentrification.
There's
good
like
idea.
a graffiti mural right before the 138th Street
A
Bridge.
graffiti mural?
Sobro.
Is it? Wait,
Okay.
and
Graffiti mural.
the rap museum, the hip hop museum's there too,
Hip
right?
hop museums in the Bronx on
Yeah.
Grand Concourse.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dope like landmarks. Edgar Allan Poe House is in the Bronx, right off of Fordham. Where I'm from, I bounced around the Bronx a lot. Like I grew up in Hunts Point, but I spent a lot of time on Clay Ave and Grand Concourse and 172nd and Walton on that side of the Bronx. My father's family's from Webster Projects. My mom's from Puerto Rico. She was born in Puerto Rico, emigrated here with her mom. And then I went to the army when I was like 20 years old, 21 years old. I did a tour in Afghanistan. I have a daughter, wife. Lived in Alaska for a few years.
Why not?
That was fun.
You just like moose a lot.
Moose were, you couldn't engage with the moose. The moose aren't friendly.
Yeah, those are
No,
badass
they're huge. Also,
motherfuckers,
people
right?
think they're small.
They're
They're
like
big
vans, yeah.
ridiculous.
You ever seen a Tahoe?
No, what's that?
A truck?
Oh yeah,
Like a
yes.
Tahoe?
I thought you were talking about some animal.
They
I never
get
heard
that
of.
big.
Oh, like
Like,
that.
they get big.
Okay. Goddamn.
Moose get massive, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their back is like the top part of the fucking roof of the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get big. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what, did you started growing when then?
I started growing right after, not right after, but like a few years after I got out of the army. And it was more or less just like personally, like I was doing like I was going through like PTSD and shit at the time, but I was managing it with my original like occupation was personal training, nutrition.
Hell yeah.
So originally personal trainer, nutritionist, and it's like you said, like throughout my whole life since I was a teenager, I was smoking weed. First time smoking weed was when I was 13 years old, and it was like weed was never like the main culture to me, and I'm sure it wasn't to you.
Yeah.
It was like weed was just something you did.
You can't just
It's
get
a
past
big-
what happened when you're what was it like? What was the experience for your first time smoking weed?
I was smoking Reggie, bro. Like I was
Well, yeah,
smoking
of course.
seeds and stems.
Yeah,
and
we were all smoking
I was
garbage.
going
That's
to the
assumed.
Jamaican spot. We was getting like fat dimes of seeds and stems.
Yeah.
There was bud in there for sure, but
Yeah.
it was seeds and
Happy
stems,
as hell,
you know what I'm
though.
saying?
Yeah, hoping you didn't get
And
a
that was like
headache.
the first time. I was like, oh shit. And then it was like headache.
Did you get high or no?
It
Did
was
the
like
first
headache.
time?
I had like a headache. It was like headache high. And like we kept smoking the Reggie, but eventually like that didn't last too long. Like I was like right at the cusp of like that brick bag of seeds and stems, and then it went into like Ari, which was like still Ari was still Reggie. It was still regular weed, but it was a little bit better. I want to say it was like greenhouse, but it was called Ari.
Sure.
And it was
I've
good.
never heard of Airy before. This is
It
the
was
first
good.
time.
It was Arizona. It was called Arizona.
Okay. Okay.
It was good. It got people high, and then right after that was hydro.
Hydro, yeah, of course.
And then we were doing like the beef and broccoli, like people were mixing the hydro with the chocolate or the hydro with the hash. Like everybody had their own like type of beef and broccoli. And then it was like the hazes. Then it was like regular haze, gold haze, orange haze, silver haze. It was like the era of the hazes at one point. That was the exotic at the time. And then after that was like you started getting like blue dreams, and I was like, oh shit, like there's blueberry weed out there. Like that's
That
pretty
upstate
dope.
shit.
Yeah, like you started getting the blueberries, and then you started getting like the shit people were growing in the hills. I guess they was getting more into that shit. You know, like people had the not heirloom strains, but the strains that were like coveted in private for a long time eventually started coming to light, I guess. And then like I was never really into weed. Like I did graffiti as a teenager and shit through high school. Got arrested for it, chased by the cops, ran from the cops, had a good time. That was always fun. Especially in the city, it's easy to
I
get
still
away.
want to do that. I just want to get chased in the
Nah.
city, right?
Oh,
Oh, why
I
it'd
don't know
be
if you
so
wanna
much
do that as a
fun,
grown-ass man.
bro. I'm a fuck with lady.
And I feel like you get winded pretty
You know
quick.
You're
what I
way
mean?
too big to like get away from the
Yeah.
city.
Yeah, they get me. I just
see
want to
your
get
ass,
tased.
like 2 blocks
And
south.
then,
Like,
yeah, I
Man,
don't
usually
want
like
that.
you get chased by the cops in the middle of the night. So you jump through
Right.
backyards and alleys and shit.
Through
so-
buildings and shit or what?
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
I grew up like Kelly Street, Westchester, 163rd,
Roof jumping?
Simpson.
Yay.
Yeah, Simpson and all that. So on Simpson and 163rd, there's like 4 or 5 buildings that are all connected through like staircases and the roofs connecting and shit. And it was like a maze through the inside and the hallways. So we just run through the buildings. And shit. Yeah.
God damn.
And then yeah, so you know, I started with seeds and stems. Started smoking early on. And I was playing sports and shit, and then eventually stopped playing sports.
Did you smoke weed in high school? You smoked weed in high school.
I did not like
Not like this,
not
I
like
assume.
stoner weed like crazy, but like I was in a punk rock band, so like that's how I first got introduced to weed too. So I was like, if my mom hears this, she'll probably be upset. But like,
Yeah.
we used to.
How old?
Like 14,
Okay.
like right out
Back
of
when
like
punk
8th
was
grade,
cool.
basically.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, like 8th grade, and we used to practice out of my parents' garage, basically, like, and that shit was fucking loud, like lit up the whole block type of shit. And then we would go back to behind my middle school to go smoke weed, and then come back to go practice. Obviously, I couldn't really do it at my house and shit. And my mom, little does she know, was like basically baking us our munchies afterwards. She would like fucking feed us afterwards and shit, you know? We were still like mad young, but
That was good. That was great. I was a
Yeah.
latchkey kid, so like when I left in the morning, I went to school by myself. I was walking to school by myself in Hunts Point in the 2nd grade. So it was like, here's the house keys. When you get home, lock the door. Don't open it for anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like my mom wasn't coming
I
home
did
till like
not.
6, 7 o'clock at night. My dad was in the street high somewhere. He was big in my neighborhood, known for like grand larceny and shit. He'd break into 18-wheelers at red lights and just empty them out, bro. Empty them out at red lights with a van behind the truck. So everybody in the neighborhood knew who my pops was. So any block I went to, there was like, well, I know
He would be the
I
one
know
getting
the
on there. And
He was the one pressing the
Damn.
lock, opening it.
He's a
Bro, I'm
beast.
talking about in the middle of Southern Boulevard. If you remember Baby, he was running around like the late 90s, early 2000s in Hunts Point. That was my dad, and he was wilding out.
Yo, wilding out.
He was wilding out. He eventually went to jail because I think he had like
Getting
he had gun
stereos.
butted a driver. Nah, so like a driver actually came out and tried to fight him. Usually
Yeah.
drivers are like, whatever, you taking my car, I'm
That
insured.
dude's
Right.
sick of it.
Like this dude wanted to fight.
Yo.
So my father gun butted him, opened his head
Oh,
up. So
damn.
the dude pressed charges.
See that?
Usually like it flies under the radar, but once there's violence involved, it's
Yeah.
over.
Of course. Of
That's
course.
too bad.
Yeah, and then I run and own the Kolektor brand. I've been doing that for almost 10 years now. And I started that like right after the army once I got out, a little bit after I stopped personal training. Like the PTSD stuff started getting a little in there. The weed helped me get through that.
Yeah.
And then I started my brand because I realized how crazy we could be. Like I realized like
You had the foresight for it, right?
yeah, I mean, I guess the foresight, I popped some seeds because I was tired of buying shit. And then I had something that smelled like strawberries and something that smelled like candy at the time when people weren't selling candy. So I was like, oh shit, this is crazy. Started with 1 plant, 2 plants, 4 plants, 8 plants. I had a whole
Power of
apartment,
growing, bro.
a whole apartment in the
Oh.
Bronx. It was like, it tapped my veins. It was like graffiti. Like I caught this
yo.
bug, bro. And it was like,
That shit gets addicting.
Mhm.
yeah, and
Sure.
and I'm super obsessive about shit, so I'm gonna like research it and dive into it as much as I possibly can. And then it was the same thing with graffiti. I got obsessive over it and started growing. But I'm doing a series of videos on this on my IG right now. Like if you're starting out, either going from seed to clone or whatever, if you're starting out, bro, go to clone. Get familiar with the plant, have fun, but you gotta have a reputable source to get your clones from. Because if you get a diseased clone, if you get a clone with bugs,
You're just
that
fucking yourself.
bro, you're gonna fuck yourself big time, and you're not gonna be able to get rid of it from your environment.
It's really hard
a
to
new
know for
road.
somebody who's like that's even something that I've dealt with just like regular houseplants, right?
Yeah,
like you can just even
exactly.
get like medium from a place and it has bugs in it or
Yeah,
whatever,
sure.
right? And
So,
that's
like, your
You're almost
source is
guaranteed,
important.
basically.
it's
from,
a
like,
huge
place like
problem.
that.
Like I don't know what truly like just even
you have
like
to act
plants
like
of
it's
gear, whatever.
guaranteed
anything.
anyway, too, if you're trying to do that stuff, regardless.
And there's risks
you know?
on both sides as well. Like you risk the clones and like the bugs and the diseases and whatever with the clones, but also like popping seeds, you might not make any money if you're in it for making money.
Right.
Right?
Right.
If you just want to pop seeds and you're exploring the gene pool and you just like to grow plants and want some personal head,
I mean, even if you want to grow some good
whatever
weed
you
for
want.
yourself, though,
I
right?
feel like
Like
seed
the
is
seeds
the-
might maybe get something good, maybe you don't.
yeah,
Like, who
seed
knows?
is the safer route because if you don't have anything good that comes out of that run, pop more seeds.
Sure.
But if you get a clone and you get spider mites and you don't know how to get rid of them, or root aphids and you don't know how to get rid of them, you have them forever.
Right.
They're
I
not
just shut
leaving
down
your
the tent and be
space.
Like I shouldn't have done this.
Yeah,
That's probably
exactly.
what
Like
I
it's
would do.
over at that point.
As a hobby grower.
But
Yeah,
as
you
a
have
new
to.
grower,
Sometimes
yes,
you gotta
as
have
a
the
hobby
judgment to
grower,
do it,
like that's
yeah.
the worst thing you can do. So just pop seeds. That's just easy.
Yeah.
So I did the seed thing. I popped seeds, and I was having fun. It was a hobby, and then I turned it into a business, and I realized popping seeds was fucking tough.
Yeah.
To run a business and just pop seeds. So get your library up and clones, and I think that's it.
First time I smoked weed was in a treehouse.
Oh shit.
Yo,
I figured that.
That's so
actually.
suburban.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
I couldn't,
Yo, I figured.
I
That's
couldn't
actually.
picture it more
yeah.
perfect in my head, bro.
I grew up in the suburbs.
Did you have a button
I grew up in
up?
suburban
With a button
Connecticut,
up?
Fucking treehouse. That's
Sure.
amazing.
and yeah, I was not wearing a button-up shirt.
I don't know. I don't know what you wear in a treehouse.
What are you wearing a tree?
Wearing a
Wear clothing in a
Do you have
treehouse.
glasses on?
Yeah, like a fucking
Yeah, you gotta-
a bow tie.
No, I was
on.
like 13. I was probably wearing a t-shirt or some shit.
Oh, okay.
Did you just come back from church school?
Yeah.
Oh, what church? No, I was at a party at a friend's house, and it was like I was not cool, still not cool, but definitely
I
wasn't
think
cool
you're
when I was
cool.
like 13. And I was in a treehouse at this party, and somebody passed me a bowl, and I was like, "Oh man, a weed! How about that?" And took a hit and was like definitely stoned.
Did you know
And
you knew how to like inhale from the first set too? Or?
I did because I had smoked cigarettes before. So
okay.
I knew how to inhale, and I inhaled and like fell out of the treehouse and landed on like some roots laughing. And like had a great time at the party. Just like I remember going home though and being super fucking stoned and super paranoid and sitting in this chair that's like it's like a kind of famous looking chair. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a blue, like kind of like plasticky chair that you would have seen in like the 70s but it's like real loud. So like I felt like everything was super amplified, and I was watching a TV, and it felt like the TV was so warm on my face. I was like, I remember having all these specific feelings and being like, my brother has to know. He must fucking know. I was like sitting in the room,
I
like I
forget
must
about
stink
that.
like fucking weed. Like
Yeah.
I was
Because there's
just
like nothing
super
like that
worried.
first high too.
Totally.
Experience, right?
And when
Yes.
it was illegal too. That
Yeah,
brought a
all of
funner, a bit of a more. When it was high
yeah.
in Spain,
Yeah.
it was the same. When I got high, I was like, aha.
It's not
Yeah.
even
I'm
just that it was
sneaky again,
illegal.
like,
It's that
hey.
you're like 13 doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
shit,
Oh,
I'm
but
doing some
back
shit
then,
that I
that was
should
a
not be
fun-
doing.
All of them, it's all like it's all weighing down on you.
Everything.
Yeah.
It's like guilt and anxiety and
Oh,
everything
oh.
else. Also, the weed's probably bad. Like 100 other things, right? Like who knows? Anyway, I thought it was dope. I was like, man, weed seems good.
Yeah.
I felt like the first time I smoked weed to like 19 years old, when I figured out that weed actually wasn't super bad for you, I was trying to figure out how to get to that point. Like being like, this has got to be not that bad for me, right? Like I feel like this is all a very positive experience, other than the part where I buy it. Like that sucks. Like it's such a fucking bummer having to wait for dealers and like all the bullshit, right? Like everything you used to have to go through to buy weed that plenty of people I'm sure still go through places.
Well, I know it's funny. Like we'd get like people from Connecticut that would come to like Hunts Point to like buy stuff,
Uh-huh.
and it wasn't like always weed.
I was
you know
gonna
what
say,
I'm
they
saying?
sure.
buying weed.
Yeah. So like it was easy. It was
Sure.
like, yo, like you be standing in the middle of Hunts Point and I see this one like pickup truck with this white dude in a checkered shirt drive
Uh-huh.
by. It's like, I know why you here, buddy.
I like how. Do
I
you think
know
Connecticut
what
is
you do.
Alabama?
He's getting double
Oh,
charged.
no,
Checkered
but
shirt
It
and a
was
pickup
different back then, bro. Now it's like it's different. The city's getting gentrified, but bro, back then it was like that. It was
Of course, of course.
I know. What
Well, I mean,
you
we
are,
used to drive
bro.
to the Bronx and go to
You
Club
were-
City.
Oh
And
no!
we had a guy, a Jamaican cat that we buy from,
Oh, no.
that was like, we were buying, his name was Legs. I don't think I'm outing
Yeah.
Legs. I think Legs is probably safe.
Yeah.
better watch it.
But he was selling, $5 a gram of like
He
brick
was
weed. what you're talking
giving,
about,
he was
sticks and
selling the
seeds.
Knicks, son.
Yeah.
The Knicks
So-
of Reggie.
We would
$2
buy an
ounce
ounce
back
and we would
then.
smoke it.
Yeah,
And yeah, it was terrible. Headache weed, stress,
yeah, stress.
bad.
What was nice about my upbringing, like in the rural areas, the one benefit is everyone grew weed. So I I was
really?
getting really good weed from like a younger age.
That's
Like,
awesome.
yeah, in the inner cities, like the cities like Rochester, and that would be more difficult. But just because they would be like that too.
In
If
the
you
city,
could
it's like
access
you had to
it,
have that plug basically
Right.
to get it. You know what I mean?
There's
Like
a lot
good
less
outdoor-
people doing it back then too.
absolutely. That was in the steel and electric days. Like that's what they would do.
Yeah.
They'd have these barns. You'd like bypass the meters or whatever and fucking run it. Like they would run fucking,
Yeah.
and then burn it down accidentally. And it was start again. You know what I mean? Like,
It seems dangerous.
it was in
old
Nancy's
days.
name anyway.
The pirate days.
Yeah.
Christ. All right, so housekeeping over. I don't want to hear any more about you. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait,
tell me about
wait,
what you-
wait,
what you
before
got,
we go
what you
on,
got?
I got to shout out because when I think of Bronx, like Bronx is my favorite place of the city now. So like,
Yeah,
shout out, and
yeah.
I'm wearing the hat, so I got to shout out D9 in the Bronx, right? OG Matt, my boy, you know what I mean? Like that's is my favorite place in the city that I've been to so far. Like, and I haven't been to that many
Shout out
places
to
in the
homies,
city.
man.
Hell yeah.
Word. So I want to talk about what we're smoking. What are you smoking? You're
I'm smoking
Fronto
what we
this
were
whole time.
smoking.
Oh,
Oh,
word.
yeah, smoking Fronto.
Smoking Fronto, but what's inside the Fronto, please?
Fronto is Fronto.
Yeah.
No, that's what was in what we were smoking in the joint, which I believe is the
Oh,
Alien
it's
Labs,
the
right?
Atomic Apples Crypto Chronic.
Shout out Ted, Alien Labs, let's go.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's smoked really well, especially in the joint, but it's still
No, it smoked really well and
Yeah.
it's got good flavor. That was one of the off phenos. We like the number 8 and the number 6 a lot.
The keeper pheno we smoked through all.
Yeah, we smoked
First.
it quick.
Yeah.
We smoked it quick. That was the first one.
right.
going.
That's the worst when you say like, yo, hyped about it on Instagram. People are like, yo, let me try some. You're like, yeah, I smoked all of it, right?
Even
The
the
good
off,
news-
even the off phenos have great flavor. The 8 and the 6 are crazy.
We already have the reruns going though too. So
Yeah, we're rerunning them right now.
How do you do that process real quick for a little grow tip? You taking clones, like you pop seeds, you take clones before you put them in the flour, or are you putting the plants in the flour and then
gotta
take
take
clones?
clones, bro, because that re-veg shit is
Clones
not
before
guaranteed.
flour.
Right.
man.
And you can get viruses that way. It does weird things to the
Yeah,
plants.
It does.
I think.
Re-veg is not the way to go. So I try to take as many clones as I can, but I'm a fucking burnout.
No.
Sometimes I forget to take a clone.
yeah.
And I gotta go back in the flower room and take that re-veg.
Happens.
That happened
earlier
recently.
the
all the
better.
time.
The earlier the better.
Important to note that like not everything is gonna stay the same from seed to clone either.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like
So we run it a few times.
So you
We're
have to
running it
run
on
it-
R&D.
yeah, we run it in R&D. That's usually from seed.
And that doesn't
we'll
get
We'll
released.
go through tasting just from ourselves, like close, like family, friends type of thing,
Yeah.
and then rerun a few selections from that, another two to three times at like a smaller level before it actually goes into production and
Yeah,
final
maybe, like,
selections made.
We'll run like 3 plants in the flower room of it type shit, see how it comes out on the rerun. And then if we like it after that, she'll get a light, maybe 2 lights. Like Jelly Banger's about to get 2 lights. Maybe a whole 4 lights by herself.
Yeah, she may get 4, Ben.
She
Good.
may get 4 lights.
It's right
just
move.
on,
It's really good.
Yeah, it's a good
Imagine
one.
when we saying, "Oh, well, that's getting 20 lights."
I
Or like
know.
50
Yo,
lights. or
right.
It's for real, yeah.
I can't wait.
I'm rolling up some biscotti sherbet right
You
now,
still smell
guys.
Oh, you
I
are?
can't stop. I can't stop doing it. It's delicious. This is from KGB, upstate in
KGB.
Buffalo. This actually is
Shout
what
out
won the
KGB.
gas category last
Yeah.
year in
No,
the cup.
I'm familiar with that. Very
That's one of
familiar
the
with
things
that.
I love right now
Delicious.
about the New York market too.
Crazy.
Everybody has like their strains and their flavors and their like keepers and shit.
Definitely.
Everybody's not running the same production strains, you know? It's pretty dope. Like everybody's beginning to put out something that's memorable. Like
Yeah.
I
and you
remember
can
at least this one thing from this one grower, you know?
go
Yeah.
to certain growers for specifically certain flowers.
Yeah,
that they're
exactly.
going
Like I know they dropping this and this is that one that like
Yeah.
That people are waiting for too. I think that'll be really interesting too. As some people, as time goes on, you'll have to build in some level of exclusivity to that too, where it's not ideally like I don't know how to put this. Like this stuff shouldn't always be available, right? Like if it's even if it's your staple strain, even if it's your like marquee, one of your marquees, it's arguably should be like somewhat limited, just so that it's not something that gets played out. It's not something that gets like.
I don't know. Z's
don't know.
killing
I don't know
it.
about that,
Look at
yeah.
Z,
There's
bro.
exceptions.
Z's killing it.
You're
I
right.
think
Absolutely.
Chem kills it. I don't know. I think you can't grow good weed enough. Like
That's
for
fair.
my whole
That's
career
fair.
of weed, I've never been able to get, no matter what the price was, $3,200 a pound. Usually, it didn't matter. I'd sell it for $500 an ounce, and like you can't have enough of craft weed. It's hard to grow that much. I think.
Look at a brand like Alien Labs, who's like super successful, especially from like a branding standpoint. Like they have their staple strains that are basically like always
always
in
available?
rotation. Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
always in rotation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I bet they crank out.
I mean, from what I've seen,
I think that, but Alien Lab's scale is so different, right? Like if you guys
sure.
if you're talking about like, well, I've got like 50 lights or whatever, like I don't think you can keep it in stock all the time either, right? You have to make choices at that point of like,
Yeah,
do we
especially if
dedicate
you're
all 50
popping-
lights to
yeah.
one strain or what?
what
Like,
happens if it's just so good?
I don't know, man. These are going to be the
With
questions.
sour.
Figure that shit out.
That's what people did with sour forever.
What?
Everybody only wanted sour. You
Only
could. I don't
grew
think it
sour.
mattered how much you grew of it. Like
Yeah.
the price was the same. It never went away. I don't
I
think.
don't know. There's habitual smokers who will go for the same flavor every time. And then there's people that want something different every time. It's just two different people, you know?
It's very interesting. I think with the craft market, you'll probably see more of the people who look for something, they're flavor chasing. Or
Yes,
they're looking for
absolutely.
different
They
stuff,
want something
you know?
different. Yeah.
So that's
Even if they
definitely something.
revisit it after like 3 or 4 months, like, oh,
Definitely.
I remember that. Let me grab it.
Right.
That's like
Come back to
the
it.
coolest thing about legalization is just that I can go to a shop and it's not even about it being legal or not. I can pick a whole bunch of different terps as just a consumer.
Mhm.
Like before, it was very limited just to get a small batch of really like strawberry cough or something. It's like
Right.
you had to be in a circle of people
Yes.
that no one was in.
Yeah.
But
Right.
That's exactly what I was saying to Ben before this too. I was like, I think I picked up like the C12 or was like one of these, right, from Bushwhacker. And I was like, yo, this doesn't even deserve to be on the legal market yet. You know what I mean?
Yo.
It doesn't yet.
They wouldn't
Right.
appreciate it yet.
It's
Hey,
not
nah.
even appreciated enough to be on that at that level yet.
I feel like
You
say
Bushwhacker would be
maybe a
like,
de-
but,
maybe-
but I'll take a license, you know?
Yeah.
But shout out to
Let
Bushwhacker.
me introduce it to him.
Yeah.
right.
Let me introduce
Let's make it
to him.
work. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think
Uh,
that's what's gonna be dope about the legal market too.
Definitely.
A lot
Definitely.
of new flavors are gonna hit once these growers are up and running.
Hell yeah.
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 But yeah, this late summer, I've been smoking a lot of the KGB drop, which has been tremendous. But there's a bunch of stuff coming up. I know, like this September, October, of course, with people, they'll be entering the cups coming up. So entry through the cups coming up. And so a lot of these runs from a lot of growers I've talked to is like their next run coming up is the cup run or the run that's just drying
Oh,
right now or
shit.
whatever else.
Everybody's
Definitely.
getting ready to
Better bring
turn
that
everything.
I'm really excited to see what we got.
People playing.
I wonder if we'll ever get
Yes,
to smoke
yes.
entries. I say this every time we get close, but I wonder if we'll ever get to like smoke this shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We
I don't
never
know.
did. All
I
the
don't
people
either.
get to judge. We
We
don't
only get
fucking
to smoke
We
it
don't
and
get to
judge it the
smoke
day of the event.
Right. We got to
Pretty-
stand. And I'm not
pretty
standing
messed
in
up.
line, bro.
However
I'm
we
not
set
standing
this
in
up.
line.
But that's our way of
God
trying
damn
to
it.
keep it fair.
No line. So that's
Yeah.
good. That's good that you say this. I want to talk about this very quickly because this year it's very, very important that I say up front. No line for the weed. Specifically where you're waiting to get samples of
Oh,
the
yes,
flower
this
that
year.
people
that
entered,
was,
this
right?
year's
yeah,
cup.
okay, good.
Specifically when you're waiting to get flower. Like that was we overcorrected last year. I overcorrected last year. I don't want let me not put
Don't
the blame
blame
on
me,
you guys.
Ben.
This is my fault specifically.
Yeah.
The first year we gave out samples at the door when you walked through the door, right? You got your free samples as you entered the cup, but there was no way of figuring out what you got. It just had like a code on it, so you'd find out the next day on the IG. Like it was imperfect, and so it was like, all right, we'll create a program that tells people what they get, and so we have this beautiful program in year 2 that. Huge shout out to Gas Roots for putting that together, for
Hey,
shooting all the photos
so
for it. Like
dope.
really, really gorgeous. And I'm so proud that we have that. It's great. And then we were like, all right, now you can choose what you get because you've got this program. We'll make it even more. And then there's a huge effing line for that, right? So
Yeah.
like we just need to
gotta
scale that back,
efficient
right?
way.
Fix that then.
So you get the samples at the door and you get the program so you can figure out what you got. That's it. It was an
Luck of
overcorrection.
the draw this year.
Not a big problem.
Luck of the
So there'll definitely be more space because of that. There'll be more space up front. There'll be more opportunity for you to actually spend your time at the award show doing other things instead of waiting in line. Maybe you hit the dab bar. Maybe you roll up with some friends. Maybe you go talk to somebody. Maybe you check out some of the new things that are part of the cup that you'll see at the cup on
Smoke
December
some weed
14th.
with me. Bring some weed and some Fronto.
Bring weed for
Yo,
Dankenstein
for sure.
specifically to smoke.
If you're a grower, that's the best place for you to bring
Network
any of
for
your
real,
weed to,
yeah.
bro.
for
Like
real.
share it with everybody in the room. Get the strains that you're working on out there, or
Get people's
New females
reactions
out
when they're opening
there.
the jars
Yeah.
up and stuff.
like yeah, bro.
And that's
like,
legal, like,
we
you
don't
know?
always make the best selections, and sometimes other people are able to do that for us.
And if you're really, really about that and you really want to meet people for business, we
Yeah.
have a networking specific event that we'll be doing the night before.
We're
We have
adding
the hash
two-
specific event that we're doing the 2 days before on the 12th. We have a sesh event the day after where you can actually spend some time with folks smoking and checking out some more of the flower from the cup. Like there should be more opportunities for people to do lots of stuff in town while they're here beyond just the cup, which I'm excited for.
Sounds like we're gonna have a busy 4 days.
We're
It's gonna be a
adding
really
two-
busy week. Yeah. Yeah. I think my wife's going away right before it. And I was like, are you sure? Because I feel like you shouldn't. I feel like you should not do that. But it's fine.
I don't
We'll
blame
see.
her.
No,
And
it's
she's
the
a
right, it's the
C,
right
right?
thing.
It's the right thing for her to do.
Yeah, it's definitely
Good luck,
it's
honey.
It's
good
the
for her.
perfect thing for her to do.
It's exactly right.
Because this guy's gonna be going off the walls.
I
I'll be
love
having
it.
a little
You
bit.
need to
I'll be
time lapse
be
your
great.
whole life from like 2 weeks
Yo,
from now on till the
yeah,
end.
2 weeks before or a week before.
Yeah, dude.
It's a lot of
You killed
me
it last
walking
time.
around
You
panicked
could see
looking
the
at
video
the-
where he's like slowly shriveling as
Dab, but then he entered the dab. Dude, you're good.
Just give me another dab. I'll be fine. I'll get through it.
You killed it
Um,
last year. You pulled it off.
Thank you very much. Huge
Yeah,
shout out
when
to
I-
everybody who's
yeah,
part of
that
it.
was-
It's not a solo effort by any means. It's a
always
lot of other
improving
people
though.
doing
That's
that work.
always the motto for us.
But yeah, we have a lot more to go this year. We have a lot of new stuff that we'll be adding beyond just the events. There'll be, I think, a lot of more reasons than ever to attend the 2024 New York Growers Cup. Also the 2025. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
No.
Anyway, all right. So separately to all of this, there's a lot of New York weed news to talk about.
Mm.
So
Yes.
much New York weed news to talk
Where we
about. There's
started?
always
Where we
happened
started?
over the
There's a
last
lot.
month.
What's that?
A lot happened over the last month.
A lot has happened. There's a lot of, I think there's more than anything else, there's not like, oh my God, this person got suddenly fired or there was a competing press conference against the OCM or whatever else. There's more like, there's been some good reporting that came out that I think is especially interesting in terms of understanding why the legal market is the way it is.
And
So there,
not much movement at the governmental level, right?
there's been no movement at the governmental level other than, I mean, they are having ongoing monthly meetings of the Cannabis Control Board. The state is still approving licenses from the first November queue, and that
The
is
next
proceeding
one,
forward.
the next one going forward as of today's date is what?
Next meeting is Monday.
Friday or
Tuesday?
Monday?
Tuesday,
It's the 10th,
Tuesday.
I think, right?
Next meeting
It's
is
really
Tuesday.
soon. Yeah.
The 10th,
Let's
I think,
go.
or something like that.
So maybe there'll be more license. There will be more licenses of that for sure awarded.
What ones, man?
I mean, there'll be a bunch of different ones. There's anybody who was in the November
I want
queue, it's
names,
like
man.
micros, there's
We know you're
dispensary
handing it out,
licensing.
so we just
Like,
wanna know,
it's
yeah.
just me specifically giving out the
That's
licenses,
what
so
I've
it's a good thing
heard.
you asked. No, it's anybody who applied during the November queue, as far as I know.
November
So it's
queue,
a
yeah.
variety of
Do you
different
know-
license types. It
so,
can be
all right.
processors, whatever.
On the news, no. I have a couple of questions that people ask me that I don't always know the answers to. Do you know if they're going through the entire November list?
Yeah.
Like, and
Yes.
they're going to
The entire
award, they
list.
should potentially, as of the information we know, everyone on that list should be awarded as long as the shit's good.
As far as I
All
know.
the
Shit's
micros.
together.
How many micros is that? Does anyone know?
180 or something, I think.
I don't want to
Was that the
confirm the
question?
number.
I
think it
don't
was
know
like
the number
100
for
and
sure. I believe
Five?
it's over 300, as far as I
300?
know.
Yeah, it's
Is
more
that
than
all
we
November
thought. They
queue?
opened it up to more.
I saw
That's
an
not bad.
article
When
the
we
other
were
day.
complaining about it, it was
That's
good.
not bad.
Sorry, I saw an article the other day that said that the OCM released a statement saying that they were going to be reviewing the November queue through early 25.
Oh, yeah, I just saw that as well. Okay.
It's going to be a while.
Now, okay, on that note, what about the December queue?
Who knows?
You fucked. And yeah, I don't know. But
mean, I
have
would
they
say
said anything
They
about
offered
that at all?
refunds and all that shit.
They
right,
offered
too?
refunds. I wouldn't get one, is what I would say to anybody who applied.
Leave
Like
it in there.
they have to deal with you if you applied. They don't have to. They hopefully will deal with you if you applied, and there's no chance for you to have any chance if you didn't apply or you asked for a refund.
Do you know if those people are getting answer backs from the OCM? I'm sure a million of them have reached out. Are they just like kind of like cut off now?
I don't know. I think
Oh, that's
The
interesting.
only
folks.
answer is there is no answer.
Right, like you're
Like there's
yeah.
literally no answer.
There's
to
only
that
so much.
number.
Nothing
Yeah,
to
no,
tell
I
'em, right?
understand.
Type
It's
of
just
Yeah.
thing,
it's really
It
unfortunate.
sucks, bro. It sucks. And if you do need that money,
But if you're on the December queue, should you be annoying the shit out of the OCM constantly about this? Like, yes,
Hell
you should be
yeah.
annoying the OCM constantly. You
If
should be
you
asking them
apply
why they
it
aren't
Talking to
licensing
them,
you.
trying
Have
to
a
get in the
paper
next
trail or
wave
something.
of licenses.
Anything.
Like,
You should be trying to get in touch with licensing and demanding attention as a person who applied
I
for a
mean, they
license.
need more
Organized.
staff. They
Yeah.
need more staff to run through it faster.
Yeah,
That's
take
the
your
only
money,
way it's
yeah.
gonna speed up. But as of right now, with their current structure, it's gonna take forever.
They definitely need more staff. They need leadership. They have a temporary leader. All that's still the same.
It's
Nothing
all
has
the same.
changed.
So the only news this month is business news.
It is, in fairness, September now. So it was summer. Politics tend to not move forward during the summer.
Right.
So it's very likely that we'll see
Vacation
more
time.
movement
Yeah.
as the election approaches, whatever. Maybe there'll be more of an impact there. But the piece that was in the New York Times, written by Ashley Southall,
fucking Ashley again.
wow, is specifically about why weed at dispensaries costs what it does.
I thought you were gonna say sucked.
No, they're not doing a quality thing. They're doing an economics thing. So it's like, what are you
It's
paying
an
for when you pay 60
old theory
bucks?
called supply and demand.
Well, there's that, but it's also that something's really interesting. I think a lot of people don't know necessarily about the legal industry is that if a grower, a legal licensed grower in New York State, sells their flower to, let's say, or whatever other dispensary, legal licensed dispensary in New York, they sell it to them at a wholesale price, and then that dispensary sells it at a retail price, right? And so, what do you think the profit margin is on that sale? Like for most businesses, it's not 100%, but for most cannabis businesses, they expect as a baseline for all of their sales to be doubling up. Yeah. So if they buy whatever, like let's say they spend $100 a pound from a grower, they expect to sell it for $200 a pound, essentially, right?
These are the legal retailers we're talking about.
Legal retailers.
They
And
double up on the wholesale price.
yes.
Cultivator game. Fuck.
But that said, there's of course like a lot of other things that play into that in terms of why. Partially, it's why they do that is because that's traditionally been how it's been in cannabis, right?
exactly.
Like that's the
So-
way it's been.
right.
But also, there's a shitload of taxes that they pay as
right.
a legal
Different
entity.
now. That
Oh,
does
okay.
Completely different, and they can't write off taxes because of 280E, which is the thing that says basically you can operate a cannabis business in America, but you can't take any of the tax breaks that you would get from federal taxes that normal business.
So does the article say any amount of money, like what these people are making, or are they cultivators charging this or that? Because that's something we're talking to. Like I'm in depth now. We're going to be in stores this month with fucking, hopefully our pre-rolls, as everything goes as planned. You
Sure.
know, so it's like the cultivators are making money. I think the system that is set up, especially for the micros, like we will make good money with how we have it set up. Is that criticizing that and saying, is that what it is?
Not necessarily. No, it's not about that. It's more
Well,
about
To me, it's almost price gouging.
what?
They're
So it's
saying that the
criticism
retailers are
when it-
jacking up
like-
the price too much.
No, when I saw the pricing of like what people are charging for like a retail eighth, and then like how much they made in a month, and all that stuff,
That's
like
crazy.
that's pretty wild. Yeah.
I think all collectively they're taking advantage of an uneducated market.
sure,
Like
yeah,
we've been
yeah.
seeing, And
And
I think
Brian
we're
Hill-
gonna
immature and
and-
uneducated.
right, and we're gonna coin what that is, and we're gonna just show it by the weed we about to put out, like
Yeah.
So it's like
Well,
Yeah,
that will
that's
our
change.
price is gonna
That's
be
what's
similar to
gonna-
what it is
that's
now.
what's
They're
gonna-
gonna bring their price down, unfortunately, with a lot
That's
of
what's gonna
weed.
balance it out.
Yeah,
Like,
for
once
sure.
they let micros in,
Once
and I'm not
indoor
talking about
flower
like
comes
the
online,
MSO.
really indoor flower, right?
but you can't say indoor because
Our sun grown is fire.
MSOs got indoor online.
Not our sun
Do
grown.
they?
Yeah, we want the micros. We want the micro quality online. We
It
don't
needs
want the
to be-
MSO indoor. We want the micro indoor.
I mean, you honestly, it's a good point though. Like you specifically said indoor, and that's a marketing term that gets used currently in the legal market to sell pretty terrible weed that's from MSOs, right? Like Cureleaf has indoor on the market right now that's not great at all, but it sells for a higher price because it's marketed as indoor.
For sure, but
And
it's
that's
still
a
a
bummer.
very immature market. Eventually, like there will be like a indoor. Someone's going to be producing a good, affordable indoor eighth, like on the legal market.
100%, and that person will make a lot of money.
That's why a lot of these real players in the industry, you don't see them out. That's why I see this as an opportunity, or I did, is like these older players that are established already that are in the real industry, which I would consider the old industry, they don't see the money to bring their shit over because they're still making the money. This industry is still, it's just like a lower percentage of the people around, but like people are smoking this high tier cannabis every day. I buy it and they buy it, you know what I mean? And it's like, until the industry is caught up, why would they go into the industry? You're going to pay taxes and sell it, and it doesn't make sense.
I mean, it's gonna convert eventually. I saw Let Farmer put up a story post. Somebody somebody posted something on Reddit saying like, yo, I've been coming to legal shops for a while and haven't had anything good, but like I went into this shop and they posted Lead Farmer's bag and was like, yo, like this shit was actually good.
Actually good.
Shout out
Which is
Lead
dope.
Farmer,
So that's
bro.
what I mean. Like, eventually the market's gonna switch over to where people are gonna start understanding, okay, oh shit, like there's not just MSOs or there's not just outdoor. Now there's this new micro license that's popping up in stores. There's this new micro batch because micro licenses are the only license where you're able to put that on your labeling. You're the only license that's able to put small batch or craft or something like
Oh,
that. If
really?
I'm not
You
mistaken.
know, you can't use craft. That's by the beer
Can't use
industry.
craft.
Yeah.
But you can use small batch or something.
I feel like if
there's
anything,
a specific word that you can use.
everybody should be using a specific, like you should be labeling it just to distinguish it from other stuff specifically.
So there is a word out there that we can use on the labeling that's not illegal. I can't remember the exact phrase, but it's something like that. Either small batch, craft, mic, whatever, something.
Right.
But people are gonna start seeing that, and prices are gonna start bouncing around. People who's really selling freaking $100 Ace outdoor, that's not gonna last in a few months.
Yeah.
That's coming
So-
sooner than later.
So to speak to the other side of the business, regardless of the the 100% profit margins, there's a lot of other expenses that come into it, of course, right? So like you gotta pay rent, you gotta pay a huge amount of
Employees,
taxes,
everything, yeah.
employees, overhead, advertising, whatever else,
Cost
right?
of
Like
goods sold.
blind stuff, any other stuff you have to do it along those lines. And I mean, it sounds like from the examples in this are from Turp Bros. Turp Bros is one of the first dispensaries
Shout
that
out
opened.
Turp Bros. Let's
Shout
go,
out to Turp
bro.
Bros. One of the first
The homie.
to open in New York City, definitely. Maybe among the first in Queens. Definitely one of the first dispensaries to open in the state, period, as far as I know.
I hope he's doing well too. He waited a long time. That's the other thing we should say
Queens?
too. A lot of these
They're in
people were
Queens,
card
Astoria.
applicants that had to wait a long time, and they ate a lot of expense waiting. Like Turp Bros, Jeremy in specific,
No,
they
but Turp
lobbied,
Bros
they
did it
spent a
right
lot of
too,
fucking
though.
money. Right, so now that
They
the
did it
people are
right.
making money and people are even making a point with some of these is a shame, because other dispensaries been open before that, and they took advantage with being the only people able to sell.
Yeah.
This dude had to fight to get that
Yeah.
shit.
But to speak to that exactly, like they'd spent a lot less than a lot of other people,
A
right?
lot.
They didn't take a big
Turp
loan.
Bros did?
Yo, bro,
Yeah.
Turp Bros was smart.
he's
They
smart,
did it
right,
themselves.
yeah, hey.
Well, in my opinion, I don't know. I haven't never spoken to them, but we were talking about on the way down here. It seems like they just did it themselves. They didn't go to a loan program. They didn't do a
They spent
Guys
what,
need
300 or
and do
400,000 for their build out for their retail shop.
$400,000 for the
Spent about
build-out, which isn't
$300,000
crazy.
to open.
Everyone else is like 1.2.
That's so expensive
Right.
for upstate, which is funny.
Yeah,
what is
300,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
That's
doing like
cheap for
30
down
grand.
here.
Yo,
That's
for
cheap
real.
down here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
No, 300 for down here.
That's great.
honestly
That's
been-
smart.
That's another thing that's been really interesting about learning more about the license side in New York is that like the difference between a dispensary upstate, like there's definitely overhead differences, of course, but you have a lot of times you have a monopoly over a market because you're the only shop that sells weed in that area. Because
Yeah.
a lot of places opted out all over the state. And so you get this, especially like cases like Long Island where there's a huge dense population, but even places like up near like Ithaca or Albany or whatever, right? Like places where there's not many, there might not be even
Spread out,
as
big
many
time.
people, but there's only one store. So everybody's going to go there and they're going to do pretty well.
Who's the homies in Staten Island that's killing it? And I love it. I love to see anybody getting money. What's the
was the
dispensary?
Flowery?
Flowery, maybe? I think
Is
that's it.
Is Flowery?
I believe
can't
that's
Is
it.
it Long Island?
I thought it was the most they've
Or you
done the
mean Long
biggest
Island?
sales. Maybe it's
I
Long
think he
Island.
means
You're
Long
talking
Island.
Strange
Oh,
Stars.
no.
on
I'm
Long
talking about
Island.
Strange
Strange
Stars.
Stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was
Yeah.
talking about.
Strange
I'm
Stars has exactly
it.
that. They have had an
killing
incredible
it.
monopoly.
And shout out, like I love to see
Happiness
it.
too,
You know, it's a shame that other people were hoping to do it at the same time with them, but it's like not their fault necessarily.
not
And there's
necessarily,
no
right?
like,
I don't-
So, like, bro, location can be a big part of it, bro.
Huge.
Not
Yes.
always, but yeah, location is 80% of the game, bro.
But those are things that will change over time, right? Like if you're up in somewhere that's not necessarily super densely populated, like maybe you'll have more options over time. And that one dispensary that had a lock on things early doesn't necessarily in a few years. And that will be tough. I don't know how you figure out how to pivot out of that model. Whereas if you're in like a place like Long Island or whatever, it's a lot of people on Long Island. Like it's like you still got to figure out how to compete with that. Or you're in Buffalo or Rochester or whatever, right?
That's
Like there's
why
like plenty
I
of
always
people in
thought
places like that.
that the micro was like the only way to really get into this for us. Because it's the only thing that makes sense. Because like I think direct to consumer is like
Mhm.
end all be all to it all. And,
Yeah.
and the fact that you can do that, like it makes it like worth it for sure.
And you
Yeah.
can build a brand. Yeah, it's. I think eventually the industries, people always disagree,
Direct
but
to consumer, yeah.
I think it's going to be the standard eventually. It's only
Yeah,
going to be
100%.
micros and supporting per state. Everyone's all, MSOs are going to take over. I'm not really scared unless they can kill us all so we can't grow good weed or something like. What are they going to do? Right?
No, I
we're-
continue to not feel like, and when I say when I think of MSOs, I think of like Columbia Care, Cresco,
Yeah.
Curaleaf.
E-Tan.
Alien Lab's technically an MSO. Jungle Boy's technically an MSO. All those, I don't think of them. I'm not talking about them. I think they actually pose more of a threat to a lot of like craft growers in terms of business than like Curaleaf. Curaleaf seems like they don't even know how to run their business as a business, like regardless of weed. Like they don't seem like they know what they're doing as a business. So I don't know.
I consider all of them MSOs, but I think the big fear of the MSOs is like home grower rights more so. Like I don't think it's going to be that, I don't know. I'm not afraid if it's quality. I grow better. I've been watching them grow their weed and sell their weed for years. It's
And
not going to be
the
better than
fact
my
that
weed.
you're
And I can
limited
show
on
them.
how much you can actually grow with your micro, right? Like that sets us a standard too for it.
Right,
Like,
100%. That's a good point too. Yeah, you're limited with canopy. You got to focus on that.
Yeah.
And it, yeah. That's a good
Smaller
point.
team, smaller canopy. We were talking about it with a cultivation company in Jersey. You know, like in a small batch environment, you can touch every plant, and that's important.
It is.
Because in a
kind
big
of what makes
facility,
the difference. Yeah.
yeah, in a big facility,
Connecting-
you have to account for losses. Because there might be an irrigation line that gets clogged,
Plant
and
you
plant
can get
dies
to,
and
yeah.
shit. You know what I'm saying? So
And you know your plants. Like I can see it when you do your videos. Like you love the plants in a way where like it's me too. Like and that makes the difference. You know
Yeah,
for
hell yeah.
sure.
They get
It
that
was,
energy. And shit.
Yeah.
fuck, man, it was a grower on IG who basically said the same shit. It was like the plants that do the best, or like there's no substitute for a plant like staring at your shadow for like 3, 4, 5 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? Like there's something about the
100%.
human
Oh,
presence in a
interesting.
room
Right.
that like, you know, like they feel cared for or whatever. Like if you're into that spiritual
They
type
feel
of
energy, yo. Yeah, that's
like
really,
that
I think, what
growing
it comes down
stuff,
to.
you know?
I think
mean?
it's just you giving them attention. You're putting
Exactly,
work in.
that's
I
what
don't know
it
if
is.
it's the
Yeah,
energy.
yeah,
I mean, it's
energy,
nice to
yeah.
think of. I don't think it's. I think it's just like the physical work you're doing.
Absolutely.
There's a physical
Yeah.
shadow though.
I don't know. I think you're
There's
smoking a lot
very-
of weed when people are saying
You don't
stuff
think
like
they're
that.
like happy trees, like
They're
Bob
like, oh,
Ross, like
the
they're
plants
all
are feeling my feelings. I'm like, maybe you're
No,
smoking
no,
a lot
no,
of weed.
not
I don't know if
feeling
they
the
are.
feelings, but you're putting
I don't
forth energy
know.
to take care of them.
It
Sure.
seems like I
Yeah.
took
Putting
Bob Ross
energy
too
into the
literal.
Yes,
task. You know what I'm
yes.
saying?
Your intent is there
Yes,
for sure.
exactly.
I feel you on that. So yeah, other things in
Safe
this
to say
article.
Ben's not very spiritual.
No,
Yeah, what the fuck? Go
No.
figure with his
I
bottom
need
up.
more drugs to get
Probably
there. I'm
an
sorry.
atheist.
Uh,
Smoking weed in tree houses and shit.
What?
He's a fairy man.
Oh shit.
Oh my
He's a
gosh,
fairy
my
man,
lighter.
he's a
That's my
woodpecker.
lighter, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Please.
a torch.
It's tight.
I love the
That's
torch,
right.
too.
The best.
What's
forever.
the next thing on the list?
Well, more news from that same article that was especially interesting is
I can't take no more.
you're gonna be
This
you're
is
gonna have
New
to
York
take it.
Times too.
This is all New York Times, yeah. It was specifically that only 2 dispensaries were on that list. The state has a list of essentially like delinquent payers
Oh yeah.
because you can have that, like you can say like I'll pay
Naughty,
you later for
naughty.
this
Define
weed, right?
delinquent
30
prayer.
days.
Like you have 30
30
days.
days.
It's 30 days, right? So you have
Net
30 days to
30
pay
is
your bills.
typical,
Net
right?
30.
Yeah.
The standard business term is net 30. It means I will pay you within 30 days. A lot of businesses still don't pay within those 30 days. There's no contract, and even if there was a contract, you're probably not going to sue them. So like
Usually 30, 60, 90.
you're just like kind of screwed usually, and you have to annoy them to give you the money. And so anyway, if
So they're not paying up.
if you're not paying up in the 30 days, you get put on a list with the state that is public.
Oh.
And so there's only 2 dispensaries, thankfully, that are on that list,
Only
which
2
is
out of 170.
kind of good, right? Like it means that the dispensaries are actually selling their weed and paying their
good.
debts.
Paying
And,
their debts.
So I'm not
And
going to
the-
sell anything to those two. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
the
Like,
thing is, they're not
right?
allowed to take credit. They're only allowed to call you if they have cash.
They can only
They can
purchase
still
cash on-
operate, but they can only buy product with cash. They can't.
Oh,
take
so I'm only going to fuck with those two. Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
right.
So we
But
flipped
if
it on
they're
them.
not paying,
Right.
that means they're not
Actually,
moving
that's not a
product.
bad system.
But if they're not paying, that means they're not moving
not-
Right,
product.
they're gonna have to take a loan or something or get out of debt, and then they have
Ain't
to
no
purchase.
loan.
Now
Who's
they're
giving a-
penalized. You don't
who's
get your
giving a
honor
retail
anymore.
location alone.
right.
A
Right?
cannabis retail location
Right.
alone.
Right.
Nobody. You asked out of that money, son.
Yeah,
I ain't
that's a
selling-
problem.
I'm not selling them shit.
Yo,
Y'all not getting none of my batches unless y'all pay cash up front.
right. I
Yes.
take cash.
So that's what they did. They're enforcing them. They're like, nobody's allowed to sell these 2 businesses for 30 days
But again, it was
anymore.
2 out of the entire state.
Yes,
Yeah, retail
smacked
shops.
and
Yeah.
status.
Yes. Yeah.
Smacked and status.
Smacked and status.
I know smacked. I never heard of status.
STATIS.
Smack was hype in the beginning. I remember seeing a lot of
They
stuff.
were one of
with
the
them.
first ones.
That's why. Okay.
Yeah,
like
they were one of
literally
the
the
first.
first one
I
to take
like
a
following
Dasney
that
loan.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First one to take a Dasney loan.
Most definitely. Most definitely. So I don't know. I mean, you guys have micros. Well, you hopefully will have a micro, but
They
that
got
point.
shit, Ben.
I know. But the point of the micro is that you could operate technically the whole stack, right? You can grow, you can open a dispensary, you can do all of it.
Vertically integrated.
Vertically integrated, yes.
It means you could do everything, top to bottom.
We're really going heavy on the business
Including a
jargon. Boom,
consumption
boom,
lounge,
boom.
which I thought was like, that's fucking cool.
But it's not
Yeah.
out. The regs aren't out yet for the consumption lounge, so it's sketchy business.
But in the meantime, the whole market has been focused, of course, on dispensaries getting open, right? Like I've complained about this so much, whether it's on the podcast or publicly or wherever else, just people in private conversation. But the focus has always been on dispensaries, and the profit making in cannabis generally seems to be focused on weed sales always over weed growing, right? And so I don't know. You guys are in a position though where you can kind of do both. Like I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, we can bypass the processors. Usually, like the processors seem to like gatekeep the industry, right? Like if you have to work through them, which a lot of people, everybody doesn't stay with us. You would to outsource our 500 pounds. From what I understand, a processor has to buy that, and we work with them to get it through. Unless we have our processing up and going, which we don't so far. Which that's exactly what we're doing. But if a processor has the power to control, if 3 or 4 have the power to control the price in the fucking market, that's crazy.
Yeah,
like that's one of why I think Kelly had a lot of issues in the beginning. But yeah, so we can do whatever.
Right. So is the focus though? I mean, you guys are growers also though, right? So like the focus is presumably you're also trying to create a business. Is the focus on like you can make a lot more money with a dispensary, right? Than you could be growing.
I mean, I sold weed before I grew.
We make way less money than a dispensary. Hold on, Ben.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You could be making way more as a dispensary operator than as a grower. Is what I'm saying. Absolutely, agreed.
Or combine together potentially.
Potentially, yeah.
With
But
the
if you could do it
You're
all
limited
yourself,
on how much you can
you
bring
can
in
outsource, but I
from
think they'll change
outsource
that.
and actually sell through your retail.
Right.
So that limits you on the capacity of your business at the end of the
Right.
day.
Should that be changed?
They're gonna adjust that, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But we don't know. I don't blame them because they don't know how much we need to sell. 500 pounds kind of a lot. I'm breaking down the numbers right now for that. We're gonna make a lot of fucking money. Like the business is gonna make a lot of money with outsourcing the 500 pounds and putting it to sale.
Roughly, what is it?
I ain't tell. I guess it's a secret.
Yeah.
It's a super secret.
Roughly, what is it?
Yeah, 30 bill.
30
Billions.
bills.
No.
No, because it's roughly the same for everyone at the end of the day. Like, give me within
That's
like a
not
couple
true.
millis.
Huh?
Give me like within a couple millis.
Within a couple millis for the whole 500?
I wanna know
No,
how
but
much I
so
can
there's
loan you
different.
for a
So
loan
think
in
about
a
this.
year
Okay,
from
we'll
now,
break it
'cause
down a
you'll be
little
rich.
more. We'll break it down because like I've been going through it. So it depends. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna do pre-rolls? Are you gonna do hash rosin? Are you gonna do bubble hash? Like
No,
it
I'm
depends
just
on your
saying, like,
situation.
flour.
Just straight flour. You're buying it and it's high quality and you're selling it right now. What you make off of? Oh yeah, 500 pounds. I don't know.
Well, 500
I'm trying to think if it's sustainable by
What do you
itself.
think?
You know what I mean?
If flour's sustainable by itself.
If you're in at a price of $2,000 a pound,
Yeah.
you making money, flipping it. I've been making money at $3,200 a pound all day in my real life since I was young.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
I'm confident as fuck. I'm not
The
gonna
current-
lie. Like
I mean, we know we've talked about it. The current market is
It's
approximately $4,000 a pound for licensed cannabis.
and that's why I say it's different though per
The
license.
ceiling.
Because my brand and what I can do right now is like a strategic thing right now. So with you guys, if anybody
Your
that doesn't do
indoor
this
flower is worth more than an outdoor micro
or the
flower,
mix
right,
lighting,
too,
right?
on
We're
top.
mix lighting, but yeah, for sure. But yeah, with being able to use the supplemental lighting, you're good. And having a
But your
controlled
flower
environment.
is worth more than an outdoor farm is for. So the numbers are
Absolutely.
different.
So yeah, anyway, separately to all of this, I don't know if you guys saw the mayor of New York City excitedly showcasing
Oh,
the
yeah.
destruction of
Hold on.
a lot of
I gotta say
weed.
one thing
8,000
about
pounds
this
of
guy,
weed.
bro. I gotta say one thing.
4 tons.
I know what you're gonna say.
Yo,
8,000
Mayor
pounds.
Adams smokes weed.
Oh,
Guarantee.
Yes.
He smokes weed.
he
Now,
does.
Why
if
is
you
that?
watch that video,
It's legal.
as
He
he's
can.
passing the table of weed, bro, nobody that doesn't smoke weed or hates weed is gonna do this. He grabbed the bag and smelled it and put it back down. What weed smoker you know is gonna do that? Every single one.
Also very dangerous of him because it's supposed to be laced with fentanyl.
It's all he could be
It's
dead.
laced
putting it up
with
to his
all
face,
types
like
of-
terrible things, you know.
It's
And
laced
what-
with all types of stuff, Mayor Adams.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be sniffing that stuff.
Jesus.
I don't
But
know
yo, he
about
grabbed
it.
the bag, smelled it, and put it back.
Honestly, it's just tremendous though watching. He does every single time he holds a press conference to do with weed. He does something that is incredible. Like there was another one where he was like, "Somebody's smoking some reefer."
Yeah,
it was
I remember that.
incredible.
Yo, he smokes
who
weed.
says
I'm
that even?
telling
It's
you.
That was like
incredible.
at the start of legalization, right?
Yo,
and
he
like he
smokes
he
weed,
was like
bro.
proud of it.
He
being
smokes
in the street.
weed. He should come on the show and smoke some weed.
But he was like excited. He wasn't upset.
That
He was just
Italian-
like,
I
ha ha
don't,
ha.
yeah, he don't smoke.
Oh,
I don't,
man.
I don't know.
The
Come hit
best.
the bong one time, Mayor Adams.
Yeah.
He
Mayor
spoke
Adams.
at the like there was a thing at the Jacob Javits Center on the West Side Highway. There's like a cannabis expo, and he spoke at it for like 5 minutes. He was there for 5 minutes, and he's like, why isn't anybody smoking weed here? Light up in a place that you clearly are not legally allowed to smoke, that no one is smoking weed. Like, what the? Ridiculous.
He knows
the
that
best.
you can't stop weed smoking in New York City.
That's
right. Yo,
He wants the tourists. He wants it all.
He's wild. He's totally wild. So yes, he stopped during that to take a break to have this incredible moment where he smells a bag of weed like no government official I've ever seen ever before do. Truly incredible.
To his face like a pillow. He was like.
Usually you see the cat standing in front of a table with the dogs. You know what I'm saying? And the weed on the table behind them and shit. We got a bust.
And
this guy's smelling pounds.
And so this is, of course, like in the vein of, I don't know if there's any Wire fans in the audience, but there's an episode of The Wire where there's a specific drug bust that happens in an attempt to show for the mayor that they're doing something about drugs, right? And so it like fucks up this long investigation because they have to do this bust just so they can put a bunch of drugs on the table and have a bunch of press there and say like, look what we did, right? And so that's kind of what these are, right? That always, I think of that every single time I watch these. And during this press conference that the mayor held, one of the reporters that was there asked what the weed is laced with, because of course they've talked repeatedly, like as you mentioned earlier, it's laced with fentanyl, it's laced with all sorts of stuff. It's gonna hurt the children, right? It's coming for your kids.
It's all about the
Watch
kids.
out, everybody on Earth. So we've got a great game here. You can't see the paper.
I'm looking at Aromatic's picture. He's literally smelling the bag, looking like an idiot.
There's literally a photo of him.
What is it? But isn't he? Didn't he say he used to break down a nickel bag into like 30 joints and sell them on the street or something?
What does it say next to
I don't know. I don't buy this dude. I don't
you-
know the dude. I need to research him to know him, but I don't really even like them out of just like nature.
Can you read what it says here next to this photo of Eric Adams?
By now, everyone has seen this image. Can you believe this fucking guy?
Pretty good.
Yeah, for real.
I didn't write that. Shout out to our producer, David.
Hey.
But I've got a fun game here, also created by David. Shout out to David. This is a fun game. Guess what the mayor and the police answered to the reporter's question. The reporter's question, again, is what is the weed laced with? So there's all this weed. As mentioned before, 4 tons, 8,000 pounds of weed that the state has confiscated. What is the weed laced with? Do you want to hear? This is a multiple choice.
Oh, I don't answer it?
Multiple choice.
Oh,
it's a multiple choice.
I already know the answer.
Well, give me your answer before
Real
the multiple
weed.
choice.
That's just laced with real weed.
It is definitely. It's a fact.
All right.
So we've got 6 multiple choice options.
shit.
All right. A, all sorts of things.
Sounds like a mayoral answer.
All sorts of things. B, different items.
Multiple items. There's a lot of weed. Could be a teddy bear in that bit.
Could be anything in it.
There's a
Again,
full-blown
Yeah.
AR-15.
But
8,000
don't worry, even if they got tested, there could be a teddy bear
Who
in there.
knows what else they were burning in that
There's a
shit?
full-blown
They had to get rid of.
AR-15.
Yeah, right.
we've got answer C, different chemicals. Who knows?
What majority? Do we know what majority of this weed was spray packs?
Yeah.
It could be. Who knows? There's probably some high quality weed in there too. I
If
bet.
that's the case, there was definitely chemicals in there for sure.
D, option D, different other things. Or option E, roach spray.
Damn.
And then there's one more option,
Back
of
in the
course.
day.
Woo!
The other option is all of the above. Did they say all of those things or which of those things? If you want me to repeat any of them,
No
happy
doubt.
to.
All they said every one of those things in a statement.
That's a fact. They said every one of them.
No way. Okay.
It's laced with all sorts of things. It's laced with different items. Yeah, yes, you can.
They're spraying it with different chemicals. Some locations have used roach spray or different other things, right?
All right. Here, Bobby.
Look at fucking Sensei.
They said
guy.
literally all of those. All sorts
Damn.
of things.
Did you
Different
cheat?
items.
He looked at that before?
Different
I
chemicals.
looked at it, didn't even read that shit.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Different other things
That was
and
good.
roach spray. Fentanyl not listed
What?
on that list. Never said
Oh,
fentanyl.
shit.
Aw,
What?
They did say roach spray though.
that was just
They
propaganda.
said
then?
roach spray? Is that a
All
thing?
propaganda.
They use roach spray
Back in
on
the
food?
day,
you
that
had
was
roach
like a
spray on your
story.
weed?
That must
It
be-
makes it really
Gets
good.
you extra.
stigma,
high.
right?
It's really, really
It's a
good.
new
That's not
term.
true, everyone.
That's
People
not
don't do that.
true. Do not do that.
You're
at
gonna
all.
new term.
Dancer's
New
gonna have to put a
term.
disclaimer at that exact moment. Do not put roach.
That's the
I Smoke New York does not condone consuming chemicals of any sort, especially roach spray.
Who thought of that?
So anyway, that was the mayor's tremendous press conference this past
Shout out
week.
to Mayor Adams.
After
out to
he
Mayor
smelled
Adams.
that weed.
He's somewhere in the city right now, I hope. Shout out to you.
Now,
Somewhere
smoke a joint,
in
man, Adams.
from Midtown with love. But yeah, that was the thing that happened for real this week. That was tremendous. Will the raids continue?
Is the show
They said
over?
they've shut down over 1,000 shops so far, by the way.
No, so
And
isn't
they
what's
only go-
happening
The raid
now, like a
continue.
lot of those search and seizures were illegal?
There's also
So
that.
a lot
There's
of those shops are opening back up?
I don't know enough about this to talk about it in too much detail,
Right.
but yes, there was a lawsuit,
Something
and as
along
far
those
as I know,
lines.
the judge decided on behalf of the shop owners who were
Yeah.
raided and said that it was not following correct procedure and they weren't allowed to have been shut down the way they were. I don't know what that means for the future. I don't know if the state will. I don't know enough about the legal stuff behind it, but that definitely did happen. Yes, so that's an ongoing thing. The state has shut down over 1,000 shops. Raids, as far as I know, are still ongoing, but I'm not sure.
I mean, that lawsuit set a new precedence. So I see a lot of stores about to start putting those lawsuits in motion so they can open their doors back up. But now, are you going to get that product back?
No.
That's number one.
Never. They just
And
burnt
number
it.
Yeah, that's right. Ain't no refunds. over
Right.
here.
Yes, they literally destroyed it, so you're not getting that money back. I don't think.
You're not getting that money back. You're not getting that product back. And even if you got it back, it'd be stale, dry, and you're taking a loss on it.
Most definitely, yes. But yeah, so there was
It's
a
gonna
giant.
evolve, you know what I mean? Like the OCM, the one thing we know about OCM now is that like they, and maybe all political systems, is like created around lawsuits, right? Or like it's created around who can sue them successfully. And it seems like they're not gonna just let everybody open up forever.
Always
they're gonna do
changing.
this again in like 6 months or something with a new thing.
The regs
you
are
know?
always gonna have new revamps
Yeah.
to them, and you're gonna have to like.
But eventually they're gonna blacklist you from doing the legal stuff, and even if it's 20 years down the line, it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be more difficult.
Yeah, for sure. They're going to tighten up a lot of these holes because there's a lot of holes in the system right now.
Yeah.
Definitely yes. Definitely yes. All right, gentlemen. I think we're going to wrap it for this episode. The 10th episode of I Smoke New York.
Hey.
Thank you a ton at home for joining us. If this is your first time joining us, check out the beginning where we talked about who we are, I guess. But go back, watch the other episodes, or maybe just enjoy the future. That's fine. However you've come to us, we appreciate you coming, watching, listening, share on social, leave comments on YouTube, tell your friends, tell your mom. You know what? Tell your mother. She should watch this podcast.
My mom does.
It's for her.
Hide your kids,
What's up, Mama?
hide your wife.
All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Peace.
This is-